I was on my lunch break when I saw the photo that made my stomach turn. Just a normal Tuesday. I was sitting in the break room, scrolling through Instagram while trying to convince myself a protein bar counted as lunch. And there it was. The first post in my feed. Lena. Sitting in a plush business class seat, glass of champagne raised in a perfect little toast to the camera. Her caption said, "Paris-bound, finally manifesting my soft life." I stared at it for a second, blinking. It wasn't jealousy, not even confusion, just this jolt. Something in my chest twisted the wrong way. It didn't make sense. Lena didn't have a job. She'd moved in with my sister 3 months ago after a breakup turned burnout, as she called it. She'd been venting about her credit cards, her mental health, how nobody understood what it was like to start over in your 30s. She was supposed to be rebuilding her life, but there she was. Eyeliner perfect, hair curled, sipping champagne above, the clouds. I almost scrolled past, until I swiped to the next image in her carousel. It was the bag. My bag. I felt my whole body freeze. It was this deep caramel leather weekender I'd been eyeing for months. I'd finally ordered it during a sale, as a small reward for working 2 double shifts in one weekend, but the payment never went through. I got an email about a billing issue and meant to reorder, but never did, and there it was. Slung perfectly, under her seat, the blood drained from my face. I locked my phone and just sat there, staring at the table. I couldn't explain what I was feeling, not yet, not even to myself. By the time I got home that evening, I couldn't shake the unease. I went straight to my room, opened my laptop, and logged into my savings account. Available balance, $43.17. Blinked. No, that wasn't right. I refreshed the page. Again. The surgery fund was gone. I could feel my pulse in my ears. My mouth went dry. I checked the history, several transfers, all small, spaced out over the last 5 days, all to a secondary account I didn't recognize. I felt like I couldn't breathe. That account had been untouched for almost 2 years. It wasn't just a number on a screen. It was every night I'd packed Zane's lunch at midnight, before collapsing into bed. It was every birthday gift I didn't buy, every new shoe I skipped, every weekend shift I didn't say no to. $118,700. That money was for Zane's surgery. I tried calling the bank, got transferred, placed on hold. Passed around. They confirmed the transfers were made from a known device, logged in from my IP address. I asked them if it was a hack. The woman on the phone paused before answering. "No, ma'am. These weren't flagged. The logins matched previous locations and devices on your account." Of course they did, because Lena had used my laptop last week, just for a minute, to check an email. And I let her. I let her into my home, into my routine, into the little world Zane and I had built together, and she smiled the whole time. I remember her sitting at my kitchen table, laughing with Zane, telling him he'd be running marathons one day after his super surgery. She called him Speedy. She brought him puzzle books, little snacks. She asked questions about the doctor, about the dates, about the savings account. I thought she was being thoughtful. Now I realized she was casing us. I opened her Instagram again. The third slide in that carousel was a boomerang, Lena clinking her glass against her reflection in the plane window. The caption read, "To soft landings and even softer limits." My hand was shaking. And then, right there in the comments, someone had asked, "How did you afford Paris so last minute LOL?" Lena replied with a winking emoji and, "Lucky. Break." I didn't sleep that night. I kept checking my account like maybe it would undo itself. I kept going over every conversation we'd had in the last month, trying to find the moment it changed. The moment she decided my son's future was hers to take. Zane was still sleeping when I walked into his room the next morning. His little legs were curled under his blanket, his favorite dinosaur tucked under his chin. That kid has been through more in 6 years than most people go through in 30. And still, he wakes up smiling. He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know the surgery we've been counting down to for a year is gone. Not postponed. Not delayed. Gone. I closed the door quietly and sat down in the hallway, back against the wall. I thought if I sat still enough, I might not scream. Because Lena didn't just steal my savings. She stole his chance. And I don't think I'll ever forgive that. It took me a full day to call the hospital. I kept staring at the number, my thumb hovering over the green call button, like maybe if I waited long enough I wouldn't have to. Maybe a miracle would appear, a deposit would reverse. Lena would confess and send it all back. She didn't. She was busy riding carousels in Montmartre and sipping espresso with croissants, tagging cafes with captions like, "Healing season." I called on my lunch break the next day, told the scheduling nurse I'd need to postpone Zane's surgery. She was kind, almost too kind, like she already knew what this meant. Said she'd put us back on the waiting list, but the soonest we'd likely get another date was 5 to 6 months out. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in the backseat of my car, staring at the steering wheel until I realized my knuckles had gone white from gripping it so hard. When I got home that evening, Zane was at the dining table, tongue poking, out in concentration while he colored a soccer field onto the back of a cereal box. He looked up, all proud. "Mom, I'm making a board game we can play while I'm healing, so we don't get bored." I smiled, or tried to. He didn't notice the crack in it. He was too busy drawing tiny goalposts. Later, I watched him pull out the calendar we'd hung in the kitchen. We'd marked off the days until surgery with little blue star stickers. Every night, after brushing his teeth, he'd add another one. He counted aloud, like he always did. 27 more stars, Mom. Then I'll be fixed. Fixed. God. I turned away quickly, pretending to clean the sink so he wouldn't see the tears that burned behind my eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I started scrolling back through my texts with Lena. It was all there. Little questions she'd asked, wrapped in sugar. "What's the doctor's name again?" "Just curious." "Do you get updates from the hospital?" "Wait, which bank are you saving through?" "I might open an account there too." I had thought she was trying to learn, maybe to support me, maybe to help Zane. But now it was like watching a con artist rehearse. My sister Sarah called the next morning. She knew something was wrong. I hadn't replied to her texts. When I told her what happened, she went completely silent. Then she said, "Okay. First, breathe. Second, we're not letting this slide." Sarah's always been the calm one. But I could hear something sharp in her voice, something cold. "Start taking screenshots," she said. "Every post, every comment, every timestamp. If she thinks she can steal from you and then parade it all online like she's untouchable, we'll show her otherwise." She was right. Lena wasn't hiding it. She was flaunting it. There were stories of her holding shopping bags from designer stores, a reel where she twirled under the lights of the Eiffel Tower, a boomerang of wine glasses clinking with the caption, "To fresh starts and forgotten debts. Cheers." I started saving. Everything. Made a folder on my desktop called Zane's Justice. Some family members noticed too. That's when the whispers started. "She's going through a hard time. Maybe she'll pay it back. Don't take it to court. You don't want to ruin family." Family. That word started to sound like a joke, because if family means watching my son limp across a playground while someone sips cocktails in France with the money meant to heal him, then what exactly are we protecting? Later that week, Zane gave me a gift. He ran up with a little box, one of those cheap tourist keychains with a glittery Eiffel Tower on it. "Lena gave me this before she left, so I can have a piece of Paris, too." He was smiling. So proud. I felt physically sick, because I knew, without question, that she'd bought that keychain with the money I'd spent 2 years saving. She had used him, gifted him a souvenir of her theft. And he was still trying to find joy in it. I got up and locked myself in the bathroom, turned on the faucet so he wouldn't hear me cry. The next day, I finally got her on WhatsApp. Her profile picture was her in front of the Louvre, wearing sunglasses and a smirk. I didn't even say hello. I just wrote, "You emptied Zane's surgery fund. I want to hear you say it." She replied in seconds, "You're being so dramatic. It's not like it was an emergency. Kids heal fast. Besides, I really needed this. Do you know what it's like? Being stuck in limbo, unemployed and depressed?" She added, "I said I'd pay you back. Eventually. Chill. Eventually." Like Zane's childhood was something she could pay off in installments. After the designer bags, after the croissants, after she finished healing. I stared at the screen and realized something chilling. She didn't feel guilty. She felt entitled, as if my savings were just sitting there, waiting for her to find a use more worthy than a 6-year-old boy learning to walk straight. I didn't reply, but I took a screenshot. Then I added it to the folder labeled Zane's Justice, because I wasn't asking anymore. I was preparing. The day I canceled the surgery was the day Zane stopped adding stickers to the calendar. He didn't cry. He just stood there, looking up at me with that soft, quiet confusion that only kids have, when something inside them is breaking, but they don't know the words for it. I tried to smile. "We just have to wait a little longer, baby. The hospital had to move some things around." He blinked, nodded. Then, without saying anything, he peeled off all the stickers we'd placed for the next few weeks. One by one. Later that night, I found him in his room, lying flat on his back, staring at the ceiling with his arms folded across his chest. "Do you think if I pretend not to care, it won't hurt so much?" he asked. I couldn't speak. I just crawled into bed beside him and let him fall asleep on my arm. That's when I decided I wasn't going to wait for karma. I was going to build it. I spent the next week documenting everything, every Instagram post, every caption, every tagged location, every heartless feeling blessed under a new handbag or rooftop brunch photo. Lena wasn't just broadcasting her betrayal, she was narrating it in real time. My sister Sarah helped. She made a shared folder and called it Evidence. Do not delete. We tracked timestamps, downloaded stories, grabbed full screenshots. One clip showed Lena in a marble-tiled hotel bathroom, holding a lipstick like it was a trophy. Her caption read, "Little luxuries, big healing." I stared at the bathtub behind her, the same one I'd once shown her in an email, joking that I'd rent a hotel room with one just like it after Zane's surgery. So I could sleep for 12 hours straight in peace. She'd remembered, and now she was soaking in it while my son limped through the kitchen in socks that barely fit. The comments started rolling in on her page. "Girl, that's the glow-up you deserve. You're living my dream, or how'd you afford this?" And then Lena answered, under a boomerang of red wine and the Eiffel Tower twinkling in the background. "Big shout-out to my cousin Ayla's patience and generosity." I didn't even feel rage anymore. I felt clarity, the kind that comes when the storm finally settles and you can see every piece of the wreckage in daylight. She wasn't hiding. She thought I was too soft to push back. She'd mistaken kindness for weakness. I printed out the entire thread, annotated it. Sarah helped me file an initial report with a lawyer she found who offered free consultations. When we told him the story, he blinked twice, then asked, "How do you have this much documentation?" I smiled. She gave it to me. Zane started noticing things too. He saw that we weren't going to the hospital anymore. He saw the opened letter from the bank. And one day, while helping me make breakfast, he asked, "Did Cousin Lena need the money more than I did?" I nearly dropped the frying pan. He said it so gently, like he'd already made peace with it, like it was okay if someone else's dreams came first. No, I said quietly. She didn't need it more than you. She just took it anyway. Zane nodded, then said, "Next time I get money, I'm not telling anyone, except you." That night, Lena posted something that made Sarah gasp out loud. A video of her and two friends at a rooftop bar, champagne in hand, city lights glowing. Behind them, she laughed, raised her glass, and said directly to the camera, "Cheers to new beginnings, funded by love. Sorry, not sorry." Sarah and I just stared at each other. "That's it," I whispered. "She just wrote my opening argument. I drafted an email to her new employer. She'd just been offered a job at a small finance company. We'd seen her post the offer letter days ago, with hashtags like, 'Not boss babe,' 'Finally moving up.' My message didn't include emotion. No pleas, no anger, just facts, screenshots, direct. Quotes. Bank transfers. Her name, her words, her timeline. The next morning, Lena's profile was dark. No stories, no posts, nothing. By noon, she was outside my apartment, pounding on the door like a storm. "You ruined my future," she screamed. "That job was everything. How could you do this to me?" Zane was in the living room. He jumped, startled. Pulled him close and called the police. When they arrived, Lena was still screaming, mascara smudged, holding her phone in one hand and her designer heels in the other. One of the officers recognized her from the report I'd filed a week earlier. They gently asked her to leave, and then Lena said the thing I will never forget. "You chose your son over your blood. You'll regret this, Ayla. You will." I didn't answer, but I looked her in the eyes, calm, unmoving. And that silence? That was my answer. A week after she lost the job, Lena sent out invitations, real ones, printed, embossed. "Soirée de Paris. Come celebrate my journey." It was a Paris-themed dinner party, held at my aunt's house. Candlelight, cheese platters, Eiffel Tower napkin holders. The whole thing looked like it was sponsored by Pinterest and Delusion. And in gold lettering at the bottom of the invite, "Let's move forward, not backward. Life is short. Love is everything." She even had the nerve to invite me, and Zane. "Let's put all this drama behind us," she wrote in a text, as if she hadn't screamed on my doorstep days earlier, mascara streaking down her face like a villain in a soap opera. "He deserves to see the gifts I brought back for him." I stared at the message. Gifts, like some tourist trinket could erase what she'd taken. I didn't reply. But Sarah went. She went in my place. Phone in hand, recording openly. When she walked into the party, Lena was already in full performance mode, wearing a sequined blazer that probably cost more than Zane's monthly therapy, sipping pink champagne and bragging about her transformative solo experience in Europe. Sarah said Lena had her iPad propped up against a stack of travel books, playing a slideshow of her Paris photos like it was some kind of TED Talk. And then, like she just couldn't help herself, Lena played a short video clip from her trip. She was sitting at an outdoor cafe, holding a glass of red wine, wind in her hair, smiling directly at the camera. "Shout out to my cousin Ayla's savings account for making this trip possible," she said, clinking the glass with the lens. "Sorry, not sorry." Laughter erupted. In the background, her friends cheered like she was a stand-up comic. Even some of my extended family chuckled, awkward and unsure. But Sarah? She didn't laugh. She took the video, sent it to me instantly, and left. I watched it 3 times that night. Not because I needed to. The audio alone had etched itself into my brain, but because I wanted to feel the shift inside me. The moment where pain hardens into purpose. The next morning, I emailed the clip, along with screenshots of Lena's caption, comments, and a breakdown of the theft to the legal team I'd been working with. I also forwarded the video to her former employer's HR department. They hadn't responded to my original email. This time, they did. Lena was blacklisted within hours. Word spread through the local business community, not because I asked them to, but because she had made herself a case study in digital confession. That night, she showed up at my door again, pounding harder this time, screaming louder. "You ruined my career. That was my last chance, Ayla. I was going to pay you back with that job." Zane was in the kitchen when it started. He froze, spoon in hand, eyes wide with panic. I wrapped my arms around him, whispered, "You're safe," and called the police again. This time, when they came, they recognized her immediately. One officer gently pulled her aside and spoke to her for a long time. She left without another word. But the next day, she started posting again, Instagram stories, screenshot rants about toxic family, how she'd been betrayed by blood, quotes about letting go of people who envy your glow. Sarah sent me a screenshot of one story that read, "The higher you rise, the more they try to drag you down. Let go of anchors." I didn't even react. At this point, Lena wasn't even talking to her audience anymore. She was trying to convince herself. But then came the turning point, the moment that changed everything. It wasn't me. It wasn't the lawyers. It wasn't Sarah's recordings. It was my grandfather. He called a family dinner. Old school, no phones allowed, all generations present. We hadn't all sat together in the same room in months. Lena showed up like she was attending a gala. Flawless makeup, fake humility stitched into her smile. She hugged people she hadn't spoken to in years and called it healing. And then, when everyone was seated, she stood up to give a toast. "Sometimes," she began, "we go through things that force us to make hard choices. But those choices help us grow." She looked directly at me. "And sometimes family misunderstands us. But we have to forgive. For our own peace." She raised her glass. That's when my grandfather, who never interrupts, never speaks unless he absolutely has to, cleared his throat and said, "You bought 3 designer handbags while Zane can barely walk. Shame on you." The room fell silent. Even Lena's smile broke. She blinked. Once, twice. Then she started to speak. Probably another justification, another reframe. But he cut her off. "I've been watching," he said. "All of us have. You made jokes with Ayla's pain. You stole from a child who trusted you, and you still haven't apologized." And just like that, the room shifted. Lena looked around and realized no one was on her side anymore. Her parents had gone pale. Sarah was stone-faced. I didn't say a word, because I didn't have to. Later that week, her parents started selling her designer bags online. They called me privately and said they wanted to help repay what she took. "She won't do it willingly," her mother admitted. "So we're doing it for her." And slowly, quietly, the tide turned. The Paris wardrobe, gone. The influencer poses, deleted. The toxic quotes, muted. What replaced them? A silence she couldn't caption her way out of. We didn't speak again for weeks. Lena stayed quiet after the family dinner. No messages, no calls, no Instagram stories, just silence. But her absence spoke louder than anything she'd ever posted. Word got around. Friends unfollowed her. Cousins distanced themselves. Even her girls' group stopped commenting on her old vacation reels. Her parents kept their word. Every week, like clockwork, they sent payments. Small but steady. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. And every time a deposit came through, I moved it directly into a separate account I'd created just for Zane's care. We weren't at the finish line yet. But for the first time since it all began, we were walking toward it. One morning, a plain brown package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside, I found a zippered cloth pouch, a used laptop, and a folded envelope with my name written. In handwriting I knew better than my own, I opened it slowly. Inside, $200 in cash, and a note written in blue ink on lined notebook paper. Ayla, this is all I have left. I sold my camera, my laptop, some other things. It's not enough. I know that. It probably never will be. I'm sorry. I know saying that doesn't fix anything, but I'm saying it anyway. I hope you use this for Zane. I know he deserves everything. I'm sorry for everything. Lena, I sat on the edge of my bed, the envelope open in my hands, and let the silence settle around me. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. But I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight for so long. I forgot how heavy it was, until I set it down for a second. I added the cash to Zane's recovery fund and booked the final consultation. We had enough for the surgery now. Not just the operation, but the follow-ups, the braces, the physical, therapy. The calendar went back up. This time, Zane didn't count down. He just circled one square in red marker. Race day, he called it. The night before the procedure, he packed his overnight bag himself, his stuffed dinosaur, his favorite socks, a notebook he planned to draw in while he healed as I zipped. The bag closed. He looked up at me and said, "Do you think I'll really be able to run, Mama?" I smiled. "You'll do more than run. You'll fly." He giggled. "Then I'm gonna run so fast that all the bad stuff can't catch us." That night I barely slept. Not from worry, but from something else. Peace. The morning of the surgery, as we were filling out paperwork in the waiting room, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah. She'd just gotten off the phone with Lena's parents. Lena had tried applying for a new job. Again. But this time, her background check pulled up the Paris videos. The digital paper trail hadn't disappeared. It had been screenshotted, archived, passed around. The internet never forgets. She'd been rejected. Again. And she hadn't handled it well. Sarah said Lena had stormed into her parents' house screaming, accusing, blaming, demanding they fix it. When they refused, Lena grabbed her mother's purse and started pulling out anything valuable she could find. Her dad recorded the meltdown on his phone. Not to shame her, but to protect themselves. At one point she screamed, "You chose Ayla over me, your own daughter." And her mother responded, calm but firm, "No. We chose what's right over what's wrong. We failed you by never teaching you the difference." Lena tried to delete the video, but it was already backed up. She smashed a vase, tried to run. The neighbors called the cops. The police didn't arrest her, but they didn't believe her either when she started accusing everyone of emotional abuse. They left with a warning. But Lena's parents? They left with resolve. They cut her off. No more phone bill, no more backup credit card, no more roof over her head. They told her the only thing they'd pay for now was therapy. And for once, they stuck to it. Lena retaliated, the only way she knew how. She went nuclear on social media. She posted stories accusing me of gambling with Zane's money, said Sarah was a thief, claimed her parents emotionally neglected her, but no one believed her. The comment section said everything. Isn't this the girl who stole her cousin's surgery fund? Still playing the victim after stealing. From a kid? Wild. You're just mad you got caught. Lena tried to delete the comments, but they kept coming. Eventually, she deactivated everything. And when she reappeared, it was on a backup account, asking if anyone knew of a spare room she could crash in. No one replied publicly. Last I heard, she was staying at a youth hostel, using a different name, trying to start over somewhere people didn't know what she'd done. I don't know if she's really changed, but I do know this. I didn't have to ruin her. She did that all by herself. As for us? Zane's surgery went beautifully. He's healing faster than expected. We still go to buy. Physical therapy twice a week? And every time we drive home, he rolls down the window, sticks his hand out like a little airplane wing, and shouts, "I'm gonna race the wind, Mama." And I whisper back, "Run, baby. Run so fast nothing bad can ever catch you." Because in the end, Lena thought she stole our future. But all she really did was remind me, and remind my son, that we're stronger than we ever thought we were. And sometimes, what they steal becomes the very thing that sets you free.